get the sound, Michael?
Time to melt some gold. Well, we're pouring some bricks. If you got a jar of gold that's big, bulky, or you can melt it down into a nice little bar. You serve with gold like this. Heat it up, melt it, all the impurities, all this the black stuff, all the impurities come off the gold. And you end up with a bar. Basically making molten lava. Should be about $100,000 in that bar right there. Smelting is always fun. A little bit easier to carry that way.
That's back on. Thank you, John. So, what we just watched is a clip from a show called Bering Sea Gold. It's on Discovery Channel, obviously. And it's about, men and women who make their living off of digging up gold from the sea. It could be shallow water or deep ocean, but there's gold, and they, and these are really treacherous conditions because sometimes they have to really dive for it. And as I was reading an article on the show, somebody actually died trying to dig up gold last year or a couple years ago. So, and what we just saw is actually a process called smelting. What smelting does is, so natural gold, I don't know if you guys caught that, in its natural state has a lot of impurities in it. So it's not just gold, but it has copper, zinc, and silver, which are not very valuable materials. So they have to draw the impurity out in order for the gold to reach its true value. So, and smelting is one of the processes that can refine the gold for its purity. Now, today's passage we should read first. Let's go to the book of Revelations, and it'll be relatively easy to find because it's the very last book in the Bible. And I think there's feedback coming from somewhere. So it's Revelation 3:18-21. It's a continuation of what we learned from lukewarmness in our faith. So 3:18-21. Okay, if you guys are there, why don't we read it together? Okay, let's begin. I counsel you to buy from me gold refined by fire, so that you may be rich, and white garments, so that you may clothe yourself, the shame of your nakedness may not be seen, and salve to anoint your eyes, so that you may see. Those whom I love, I reprove and discipline, so be zealous and repent. Behold, I stand at the door and knock. If anyone hears my voice and opens the door, I will come in to him and eat with him, and he with me. The one who conquers, I will grant him to sit with me on my throne, as I also conquered and sat down with my Father on his throne. All right, so Jesus is also talking about gold here, and that's where I drew this video clip from. When Jesus talks about refine and buy from me, I counsel you to buy from me gold refined by fire. I wanted to know what refining process really takes. So I looked into it, and there it is. And we're going to talk about that a little bit more, the process a little bit more, because it makes a lot of sense what Jesus is trying to tell us. Literally understood, entire passage sounds like it's counterintuitive and kind of puzzling. Jesus is so the verse right before that, Jesus says, for you say I am rich, I have prospered, and I need nothing, not realize that you're wretched, pitiable, poor, blind, and naked. I counsel you. So Jesus is speaking to those who are poor, naked, that are blind, that have no way of earning money themselves. And, Jesus is counseling them, hey, buy from me purified gold. And it's puzzling because gold is not a cheap material, guys. It's only used in fine jewelry. Okay, it's not something you can buy off of real refined, purified gold is really expensive. That you guys find that out when you guys start shopping for your engagement rings or wedding bands. I find that out the hard way. I'm touching it right now. It may be the most expensive item in our household. That's how expensive it is. Of course, on top of a diamond too, but that's besides the point. So anyways, and in the ancient times it was even worse. Only the extremely wealthy and those of authority could afford to buy gold. And now here Jesus is telling the poor, the naked, the pitiable, the pitiful, I counsel you to buy from me gold. Right? And it's not the type of gold that, it's not just any type of gold that God is referring to, or Jesus is referring to rather, but is referring to the wealth of God, the riches of God. It's the gold of Jesus. Okay, riches of God are fundamentally different than riches of this world. Okay, according to verse 18, the riches of God, riches of Jesus, can clothe us with garments that washes away our sins. In verse 18, so buy from me gold and clothe yourselves with white garments so that you may clothe yourself and the shame of your nakedness may not be seen. Guys, Jesus himself is clothed in white in his true nature. It's mentioned here in the Bible. Whenever Jesus is in his glorified state, in his true state, you can see him described wearing white garments. And what he does is he imputes his own righteousness unto us. Okay, and so what we're doing is we are wearing the same white garments that Jesus is wearing because he had made us righteous. So when he says, now right now you're naked in your sin and in your shame, but I am giving you my white garments so that you may be made righteous. And that's what the riches of Jesus does. And also, what does it do? It cures us of our blindness. Guys, many in this world suffer from blindness because they simply cannot afford it. I did some research on blindness when I preached about it. And I saw these heartbreaking videos of girls in India and Bangladesh and all these poorer countries. The surgery only costs about $300, but they just simply can't afford it because they live maybe 50 cents a day. Their parents can afford it. And even here in the U.S., it's kind of hard to imagine because there's so much, medical care that's afforded by the government, that's provided by the government. But, sometimes eye surgeries are the most expensive surgeries, and they're often not covered by insurance. And they're uninsured, they're underinsured people, and those are also people who cannot receive government benefits, medical benefits. So we see if you see a lot of homeless people, or if you see just people who are hardworking, but just cannot earn enough to pay for insurance, oftentimes they have to let their eyes go bad. Okay, and then there are cases, your eyes are just such sensitive parts of your body that sometimes there's no known medical procedure to repair or restore your eyesight. So some people just have to go blind, even with today's medical advances. And the wealth of Jesus, the gold from Jesus, is able to cure any spiritual blindness. So buy from me gold to put salve and to anoint your eyes, that you may see. Jesus made salve, because if you guys remember this, he made salve to cure a blind man. And what did he make it with? He spat onto this dirt. And he made a little mud salve, and he put it on to the eyes of the blind man. And there's no, if you think about it, there's no greater grossing, like it's the grossest, I don't know if that's a word, but it's such a gross salve if you think about it. If somebody put, somebody spit in the dirt and put it on their eyes, you're like, ugh. But Jesus, that salve, not only cured the man's physical blindness, but it also cured the man's spiritual blindness. That when he saw Jesus, what did he confess him as? He said, he even debated with the Pharisees and leaders of the religious study. He said, no, I know this man to be from God. How come you don't see it? Right? So Jesus' gold is not only a status symbol or a currency, but it has the power to give confidence, to heal, and to save. And that is the power of gold from Jesus. The question then is, how do we buy gold from Jesus? As I mentioned before, it can't be purchased from with currency. You can't just go up to Jesus and say, hey, I want to buy this because I have this amount of money. Or you can't really work so hard to earn it. Okay, it doesn't work that way. But rather, the answer is much simpler than you think. Revelation 3:20, behold, I stand at the door and knock. So Jesus is standing at the door of your heart, and he's knocking. And if Jesus says, if anyone hears my voice, so Jesus is standing at the door, knocking, calling out your name. He's not just a gentle knocker, but he's actually calling your name. Open up the door, I am here. And if anyone hears my voice and opens the door, I will come into him or her and eat with him and he with me. Let Jesus into your life. That's how you buy gold from Jesus. By now, everyone must be thinking, well, I already done that. I already let Jesus into my life. And that's why I'm sitting right here on this Sunday morning, right? But take a closer look at what Jesus is really telling us. He's knocking on the door, and when he comes in, what are we eating together? It's a homemade meal that is shared between Jesus and I. Okay? And we're not just sharing a meal together, but we're sharing our lives together. Okay? I will come into and eat with him, and he with me. It's not Jesus kind of budging in and saying, I'm going to eat at your home. No, there's an interaction between Jesus and I. Let's remember who Zacchaeus is. Sometimes I call him Zacchaeus, the short man. I identify with him a lot because, the shortness, we have the same problem. If I sit in the way back and everyone stands up, I can't see the pastor up here. So I kind of have to come to the aisle to see him. And it's the same thing. Zacchaeus, he was a bad man. By all accounts. He was a tax collector, in fact, a chief tax collector. He was known to steal from his own people. When he collected tax for the Romans from his own people, what he would do is he would add extra amounts and keep that difference to himself. So he was stealing from his own people. So everyone hated him. Romans knew about it, but they, well, we're getting what we're due, so whatever you want to do. But when this bad man, saw Jesus, he wanted to see Jesus. And then something happens to him. And he decides to give up not all of his, but half of his riches to the poor. And actually, maybe all of his riches. Because what he does is, he promises, and he does this, he pays back 4 times from everyone he stole from. And that's a lot of money. I'm sure he wasn't stealing just a little, he was stealing a lot of money, and he promises to pay everyone back 4 times from what he stole. And how did that happen? What changed in his heart? What caused this change in his heart so much? Simple. Jesus wanted to stay at his house. No, seriously, that's all he wanted to do. Jesus said, I want to stay today, I want to come into your home and stay there. Now, oftentimes, what we do is invite Jesus. Okay, we invite Jesus to, meet him. But we meet him at some cool restaurant. And, we have a casual conversation with him, and sometimes meaningful conversations with Jesus. But, we have a good meal with him. Hey, this was a good restaurant. We should do this do this again. And it was a good conversation, good time, man. Jesus, thank you. We'll meet again. Bye. I'm going to go home. And we leave him there. There's no intimacy in sharing my life with him. And there's intimacy of sharing my innermost thoughts and affections with Jesus. We go on to retreats. So what I'm talking about is this. We come to church on Sunday. We have sort of a good time with Jesus. Good worship, man. Good Bible study. We go home and we leave him here, right here. And we go on to retreats, we go on to mission trips, and man, it's really good it really feels good to serve Jesus. We met him here. It was good worship time. We leave him there. We never bring him home. Unless you invite Jesus deep into your hearts, share all your daily activities, future plans, guys, and your innermost thoughts and affections, there will be no life transformation. Just another lukewarm Christian. Another lukewarm Christian who is mistaken that he or she is Christian, but there's no joy as described in the Bible, and wonder what is going on. Why am I not being changed? Why am I not feeling or seeing these things just like the Bible tells me? Zacchaeus' life was so dramatically changed. Think about it. It's instance. Jesus says, I want to come into your home. Bam. I'm going to give half my riches to the poor. I'm going to pay everyone back fourfold, 4 times. Because Jesus wanted to stay with him, dine with him, share life together. A person, what happened to Zacchaeus is real. It sounds so dramatic that it should be, it sounds like it should be reserved for kids' bedtime stories. One of those feel-good stories. Zacchaeus was a bad man, but he met Jesus, so he's a good man now. Well, what happened is real. That was a reality for this man. Our perspective, when we have Jesus deep into our hearts, when we start living our life with Jesus, our perspective begins to shift. We have newfound identity that gives us rock solid confidence that cannot be forsaken. Girls, this is really true with you. We are, we want to be constantly pretty. I love my makeup too. We always talk about dieting. We always talk about the newest products on the market, and we want to be pretty, and that's okay. I don't want you to be lazy and go not shower. No, that's okay, but what I'm talking about here is this, and boys, you too. As you get older, you want to look better, you want to be popular with the girls, you want to be, wear the right kind of shoes, right kind of brand. But guys, deep down, your confidence should be coming from knowing that you are a treasured son and daughter of God, and no one can forsake that. Jesus, Son of God, died for you. And that was a newfound identity for Zacchaeus. And there's a joy of seeing the true value of things. Our source of joy shifts from possession to giving. We're so focused on getting things for myself. Don't worry, I'm like that too. I love things. I really do. But our joy needs to shift from getting things for ourselves to giving things to others. And our source of joy shifts from pleasing me to pleasing God. And that's the perspective shift that happens when we open the door in full obedience. We don't open the door halfway, right? We kind of leave him there hanging. Jesus knocks on the door. Hey, Joe, I'm here. Please open the door. And I open the door and I'm like, Jesus, it's really nice to see you here, but I know you came at a bad time. I was just feeding Aaron. Can you come later? I'll meet you at the restaurant like we talked about. Okay, we'll see you someday. We'll see you at the restaurant. That will not change my life. Now, many are misled into believing that Christians should be living relatively comfortable and stable life. I don't know. It's sort of there's sort of like an unspoken consensus given. If you're a good Christian, your life, you will have a good job, you will have a good family, and you have financial stability, and your life should be comfortable. Well, God says it's exactly the opposite. Revelation 3:18. I counsel you to buy from me gold refined by fire. Is there peace in that? Do you guys see peace and comfort? As we learned in the beginning, gold in its natural state has many impurities. Did you guys see that black stuff that was mixed in the gold as it was being? Yeah. So it needs to be refined to remove all those impurities. And there are a few different ways of refining. It's not just fire that works. Nowadays you can use chemical and electricity. I did my research. But the ancient way of refining by fire is still popular. And what Jesus is first in gold refined by fire is indeed a purified gold. With riches of God, what can you do? It clothes us in the garments of righteousness. And it cures us of our spiritual blindness. It makes us spiritually perceptive. It is the product of God's refining of us. How does God refine us? Well, let me tell you what refining process of actual gold involves. So, as you guys saw, all that flakes of gold are poured into the cup, and it's melted down. And do you know how hot that fire is? Guys, take a guess. What do you think is the temperature of that fire? So take a wild guess. 1,000? Close. Do you guys know? Huh? It's actually 2,000 degrees Fahrenheit. Right? I know. It's 2,000 degrees Fahrenheit, 1,000 Celsius. So it's really, really hot. So guys, what that does is it pushes the impurities to the surface in the liquid gold. And the refiners kind of scoop up that impurity and they throw it away. So what's left is pure gold. Okay, and God's refining process involves bringing our shortcomings and our faults and whatever that lurks in us that hinders us from coming closer to God. Jesus refines us, sort of boils us, and he lets all of that bring to the surface, be brought to the surface so it can be removed. How does he do that? Through hardships, through suffering. Revelation 3:19, those whom I love, I reprove and discipline. Jesus doesn't say, those whom I love, I'm going to pat on their back and make them comfortable. Jesus says, those whom I love, I reprove and discipline. So be zealous and repent. Why? It sounds so terrible. Doesn't it so terrifying? Why do we have to suffer? You know, did you guys ever wonder why every godly person in the Bible goes through so much hardships? I mean, look at Joseph. You know, I used to read Joseph's story a lot because this is like a man, like he's a symbol of misfortunes, right? I mean, he was the most beloved son out of the 11 kids. My mother-in-law she comes from a sibling of eight siblings, I think, and she says she was the most beloved daughter, she says. But anyway, but it's for sure Joseph was the most beloved son. He was given the best things, and he's spoiled rotten. But then what happens? He's thrown into a life of slavery. And not only that, he gets thrown into prison for something he didn't even do, and there's no hope of escape. And let's look at David. He's anointed king from the prophet Samuel. But what happens? Saul, his predecessor, hates him. So he tries to kill David numerous times, and he's constantly chased. Although David is there to help Saul. Saul just hates his guts. And even after David becomes king, what happens? His own son tries to kill him and chases him out for the very throne he was sitting in. And then we finally come to Job. Guys, you guys know this man Job from the Bible? Oh yeah, what is he known for? His sufferings. I don't know how he endured it all because, I refreshed my memory and went back to his sufferings. All of his 10 adult children killed in one seating, and all in one place. The building collapsed on him. Boom. All right, and then his livestock and servants were either taken, or his livestock were either killed or taken by invaders, and all of his servants killed by invaders or fire from heaven, fire from God. All of this in one day. News after news after news. And then not only that, he starts developing all these painful, not only painful but itchy, I can't stand itchiness, boils all over his body. So there's this famous scene, the verse that describes his pain, and it's a scene of him scratching his boils, his oozy boils, with a piece of pottery, as his wife's nagging at him. Just blame God, man. What have you done to deserve this? Many may say their sufferings were actually repaid in the end. Because if you think about it, Joseph became the second most powerful man in Egypt. And that's actually a great amount of power. And look at David. He became, despite all of that, he became the most beloved king who paved the way for Israel to reach its pinnacle. His son Solomon reached that, but he paved the way for that. And David is still beloved king. And Job, so the Bible says everything was paid back to him twice more by God. And he even had 10 more kids, this man. Exactly 7 sons and 3 daughters, I think. Yeah, 7 sons and 3 daughters. So he got everything back and even more. But the true riches they have gained was not indeed tangible possessions, but through suffering and hardship, they gained the purity in which they were able to see God. Matthew 5:8. Blessed are the pure in heart, for they shall see God. Joseph was a prideful man. I told you he was spoiled rotten, and I literally meant that. And because he received all the favor, the attention, and the love from his father. And his pride could only be removed as he experienced humility and utter dependence on God, because he was in a place where he could do nothing. No one can do anything for him except God. So that humbled him. And David was lustful, although he